Welcome to the LDN radio show, brought to you by the LDN Research Trust. I'm your host, Linda Elsiegood. I have an exciting lineup of guest speakers who are LDN experts in their field. We will be discussing low-dose naltrexone and its many uses in autoimmune diseases, cancers, etc. Thank you for joining us. Today I'd like to introduce our guest, Annalisa from the US. Thank you for joining us today, Annalisa.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Annalisa was telling me that she takes LDN for trigeminal nerve pain and Lyme disease. So could you first of all tell us, when did you first become unwell?
Sure. In 2011, I started experiencing some symptoms such as hair loss, rapid heart rate, weak muscles, and my regular doctor that I was going to thought maybe it had to do with my thyroid. So they ran lots and lots of tests and everything came back normal, but I continued to have these really strange symptoms that nobody could explain, and they seemed to get worse and worse throughout 2011. And in October of 2011, I collapsed in the grocery store and fainted. So I was taken to the hospital and admitted to the hospital for rapid heart rate, muscle weakness. So they started running tests on me, and again, everything came back negative. They did CAT scans, they did spinal taps, they had me on a heart monitor, and everything continued to show no problems, yet I was so sick I thought I was literally on my deathbed. So I was sent to a neurologist, and the neurologist thought that perhaps I had MS. So he ran another MRI, and again, nothing showed up as far as MS. I continued to get sicker. I started to forget my kids' names. I couldn't really walk without help because I was so unsteady and really had no answers. So just through pure miracle, I connected with somebody who said, you have a lot of symptoms of Lyme disease of another person I know. So only by the grace of God, I was sent to San Francisco, California, and was given a wonderful Lyme doctor. And this Lyme doctor ran my blood work through a different lab. And after running my blood work through that lab, that is when the Lyme disease and then some co-infections showed up, Bartonella and Babesia showed up. So then I finally got a diagnosis. So from the time I got sick to a diagnosis, it was about 9 months before I finally got my answer. So then we knew that we were dealing with Lyme disease, but I had no idea what I was in for. So that was in December of 2011. And so I don't have to explain all of the years, but between 2011 and 2017, I was on and off antibiotics, probably about 10 different antibiotics. I was on supplements to the tune of taking 75 pills a day. I wasn't working. I had my mother-in-law living with us. So I went through a lot of trauma and was deathly ill. Well, after doing the antibiotics, which included oral antibiotics, it included intramuscle shots, the injections of an antibiotic, I slowly started to get better where I could function in life and take care of my 3 kids and go back to work. So I was functioning, but it was probably at about like a 75 to 80% of what I used to be. So in 2017, my doctor decided to take me off of antibiotics because I'd been on them for so long. I felt like I could function in life, but I certainly was not like I was prior to contracting Lyme disease in 2011. So then I continued on supplements from 2017 to 2019. I continued, just kind of muddling my way through, still dealing with brain fog, muscle weakness, word finding issues, and still didn't just feel, like I was living my best life. So fast forward to 2019, I woke up one day with the most excruciating headache that I had ever had in my right temple. Well, that led me down a rabbit hole of CAT scans, ultrasounds, blood work. They were thinking, ruling out like a blood clot or a brain tumor or anything like that. So once again, this trigeminal nerve pain was probably on a scale of 1 to 10, it was more than a 10 of the pain I was dealing with. And again, I would miss work, and they put me on every pain pill. It didn't touch it. They put me on every migraine medicine, never touched it. I wanted to die. It hurt every minute of every second of my life. So after seeing a neurologist where I live, I got back with my Lyme doctor, and he brought up Low Dose Naltrexone. And I said, I'm willing to try anything. And he said, well, let's give it a shot. We don't have anything to lose. We've had success with it. Let's see what happens. So this was May of 2020. So from September of 2019 to May of 2020, the pain was 24/7. I wanted to die every day. So I got prescribed low-dose naltrexone. I was prescribed it and then work with a compounding pharmacy here in the United States. And I got with that pharmacist who was amazing and explained like how it would work, what I might expect from it. So I started on that in May of 2020. I started at 1.5 milligrams like they prescribed and said that I would work my way up to 4.5 milligrams. So I started LDN at 1.5 milligrams. And within 1 week, my pain started to get better. It started to not be as excruciating. So I was so happy because I was thinking like this might be the answer. So I stayed at 1.5 milligrams and I still had the pain, but the edge was taken off. I did not have any side effects. It did not make me any sicker. I didn't have any type of herx reaction, nothing. So then I moved up to 3.0 milligrams, and I stayed at that for 2 weeks. And then instead of jumping to 4.5, just because I was reading about it and, I'm in the Facebook group for it, and I didn't want to jump to 4.5 too quickly just in case it would give me any side effects. So I jumped to 3.75, and I stayed there for a month, and it just continued to get better and better. Not only did my trigeminal nerve pain start to get better, I started noticing my muscles didn't go weak. I started having more energy. I didn't go to work and have to come home. I was feeling more like 90 to 95%. And I didn't even realize it until I started paying attention to what my life was starting to do. So I stayed at 3.75 and was like, I think my Lyme symptoms are also starting to get better. And then after a month at 3.75, I jumped to 4.5, and I have been at 4.5 milligrams. It took me about, I want to say, if I'm remembering right, about 3 months for me to work my way up to 4.5 milligrams. So I want to say either in September or October of 2020 is when I got to 4.5 milligrams. And I have been there for, I guess we're coming, right at a year. I would say I operate at some days 95%, just depending on stress level, or other days I am at 100%. My trigeminal nerve pain is pretty much resolved. It will kind of flare up, I notice, after a stressful day, but it's not the excruciating pain. It'll be more like a pressure in my temple, but I no longer have my trigeminal nerve pain. I no longer have my Lyme issues. Those have been resolved. I still take supplements, but I would say that LDN is my miracle. I tell every person I know that has health issues about my experience with LDN, and I attribute my Lyme doctor to really basically giving me my life back, if not saving my life. And so today I'm back to the gym. I live a very active life. I am on the move every minute. Fatigue is gone, and I can't describe what a miracle it is and how thankful I am that LDN came into my life.
Wow, that's amazing. I do have one or two questions for you. I know that our listeners are going to say, how long were you on the antibiotic for your Lyme disease? It sounded a long time, the way you were telling it.
Yes, I started on antibiotics in December of 2011, and then I came off of antibiotics, full-time antibiotics, in 2017. We would rotate antibiotics, so I don't know exactly how many I was on, but it was probably at least 8 to 10 different ones that we would rotate. Sometimes I was on 3 different antibiotics at the same time. My brain fog with the Lyme disease was horrible. So my doctor had me do the Rocephin injections. My husband would do those every day. And that the injection seemed to help my brain fog, but it certainly didn't make it completely resolved. But yes, I was on antibiotics from 2011 to 2017 nonstop. And then from 2017, yes, 6 years. And, I was very fortunate that I did not develop, I had to get tested for C. diff a couple of times, but all in all, I did not have the experience that some Lyme patients have where the antibiotics really take a toll. I tolerated them pretty well. There were a couple that I wouldn't tolerate so well that they had to take me off of due to issues. But it was 6 years of straight antibiotics. And then occasionally from 2017 to even today, sometimes my doctor will have me pulse an antibiotic for like a week, a month. Sometimes I notice, and it hasn't been since I've been on LDN. So really from 2017 to 2020, I would pulse an antibiotic occasionally if I felt like, kind of down, or I noticed some symptoms. I would pulse one antibiotic 1 week a month every now and then to try to just, keep things at bay. But I haven't had to do that since September, when I started LDN in May of 2020. I haven't had to do any antibiotics.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing I would like you to tell us is what supplements is it you actually took at the time and what you take now?
Mm-hmm. Is it okay if I name the brand? Is that okay to say what I take? Or yes, I take a lot of tinctures, herbals with some really good companies in the U.S. that like antiviral therapies, cat's claw, Hatunia. I could go and look, but I use basically supplements that will help with Lyme disease symptoms that I can get from different herbal companies in the United States. There's another one. I can't remember. I could go and look, but lots and lots of supplements that are specific to Babesia and Bartonella is what my doctor had me do after I came off of the antibiotics. I would take the tinctures, and then the actual supplements that I would take, some capsules, they would be different mixtures of like milk thistle, cat's claw. I'm trying to remember what the ingredients are, but lots of different supplements that kind of took the place of the antibiotic to help keep the Lyme disease and the co-infections at bay.
Mm-hmm. And what about things like vitamin D and...
Oh, yes. Okay, yes, I can tell you those. Okay, so vitamin D, zinc, calcium, vitamin C, vitamin A, quercetin. I'm currently taking NAC. I think that's all I'm taking today. I do take the quercetin and NAC due to COVID. I did contract COVID. So my doctor prescribed, or didn't prescribe, but had me get quercetin and NAC, and then he had me take an antiviral tincture, and then high doses of vitamin D and vitamin C. I got sick with COVID, and so he put me on a pretty good protocol for that. So I still take some of those, just I live in a place where there's a really high transmission rate in the community, and I was an elementary school principal, so I worked through, all last year through COVID at an elementary school. So I was at high risk for COVID, and I did contract it. So today I still take my vitamins and things to support my immune system, so that hopefully I don't contract COVID again. But that's currently what I take today.
Okay. And what about diet? Do you do anything special with your diet?
I would say I eat clean 80% of the time, and I do enjoy treats. I try as hard as I can to stay away from sugars. I am not gluten-free. I do not seem to have any reaction to gluten, but I do try to stay away from sugar. I do try to eat fruits and vegetables. Basically kind of a balanced diet rather than anything specific. I'm not paleo. I'm not vegan, anything like that. But my family and I, we do eat healthy, trying to stay away from sugar. I do notice that if I eat a lot of sugar the next day, I might feel some fatigue, and I do notice a little bit of brain fog if I overindulge too badly. But unfortunately, sugar is my weakness. But I would say it's an 80-20 balanced diet where, I'll have an occasional treat. But if I do overdo the sugar, that's when I notice my brain fog and I can't think quite as clearly. But honestly, LDN kind of keeps that at bay also.
Wow, what an amazing story. It's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Especially,
I feel really lucky.
Yeah, considering how high your pain levels were and you were ready to give up, to be able to function
Yes.
as you do and not have the pain. What can you say? I mean, that is just incredible.
Before LDN, I honestly did not care if I was alive another second because the pain in my nerve was so bad. I had to take off work. I would sleep as much as I could. I really had a hard time, even doing the basic things. It hurt so bad. I can't describe how bad that pain was. And honestly, within a week of getting on LDN, I noticed that excruciating pain, the edge started to come off. And then the longer I went, I mean, it cured it. Whatever the inflammation was or whatever LDN took care of in my temple, it is a true miracle. Absolutely a miracle.
What an inspiration for other people, and thank you so much for having shared your story with us today.
Yes, I hope it helps somebody, and I wouldn't mind if anybody ever wanted to email me. I love to share my story. I feel like I've helped a lot of people that I've come into contact with in my Lyme groups and the LDN group, so I would be more than happy if anybody ever wanted to contact me. But yeah, I couldn't say enough, and I thank all of you who are able to get LDN to people. It really it saved my life, and it certainly helped my family because I'm back to who I was prior to Lyme and prior to trigeminal nerve pain.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments you may have, please email me, Linda, Linda, at ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciated your company. Until next time, stay safe and keep well.